Here's where I'm at.
What?
Not every bad judgment or every bad act is a crime.
Oh my God.
What law did that violate?
He's the president.
What law did that violate?
Probably the oath of office that he took when he would defend the United States.
This is why we vote people out. That's how elections work.
I know.
You're taking deeply held judgments that you disagree with. Great, go to the ballot box, vote. That's how we do things in the United States of America.
Before he had a great performance in the Republican debates, Vivek Ramaswamy went on Bill Maher's podcast. Bill Maher was obsessed with Donald Trump throughout the entire interview, including a full-blown meltdown over the 2020 election. He continuously tried to bait Ramaswamy and refused to address any of his points that he made, regardless if they were valid or not. Check out this clip from the podcast.
The FBI opened this investigation into whether Trump was too involved with Russia, let's just put it that way, based on this Australian tip. And of course, it turned out he was. His campaign manager was sharing polling data with a guy in the GRU.
But you know who else was too involved with Russia? Was the Hillary Clinton campaign.
That's ridiculous.
It was via the British guy Christopher Steele with the Russian disinformation operative getting the golden shower story on planted down, all used as opposition party research.
That's a red
to get
herring,
a FISA. I'm just saying both parties. Politics apparently is far dirtier than I ever imagined in both political parties. And I just don't think it was good for the country, Bill, that we had that impeachment inquiry for the first 2 years.
Let's go back to what we can actually talk about for real.
What Bill is actually saying is let's go back to talking about Trump, because Hillary is on my side, and I don't want to talk about her corruption.
2 reports.
Okay.
The Durham report and they both said the same thing. And these are Republicans. At least Durham is.
I mean, to me, I could care less about the partisan distinction.
Well, everybody else cares about it, so let's not pretend you don't care.
Well, the reason I don't care because there's a lot of I think about it as whether or not you're part of the managerial class or whether you're actually being accountable.
Well, that's important too, but also
and that exists in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party alike.
But we are crazy partisan right now, and people only stick with their team.
Bill, you're a perfect example of that. You won't put the past behind you. You keep bringing up Trump and ignoring Hillary because it empowers your side. You're showing the same partisanship that you're accusing other people of doing. But it gets even worse. Bill Maher accuses Vivek of being too young and not having wisdom because he won't agree with Bill on every point about Trump. Basically saying, if you don't agree with me, you're young and stupid.
You have a great amount of energy at 38. You're super smart. But I do see something that alarms me, truly.
Fair enough.
Because you don't have the wisdom about certain issues. I don't think you think Trump lost the election.
Well, I think that big tech interfered. You and I have talked about this like a year ago.
What the fuck does that matter?
I want to say
who got the. Of course, big tech interfered. They interfered for Trump. That was all about Fox News being.
It's the largest illegal campaign contribution in human history.
Okay, but who actually got more votes?
Biden got, I mean, literally in terms of the number of votes that were counted.
And Biden won the states.
I have seen no evidence to suggest
there is
that there was.
That's why you haven't seen it. And so Biden won the Electoral College.
I want to come back.
Wait, just answer this. No, you can't come back. You can't play politician.
Well, I want to come back to it after we're done with this.
Did Biden win the amount of electoral votes that they said he won, and therefore is the legitimate president?
I think the reason he's not legitimate.
Not the right answer.
No, the reason the election was rigged was big tech. That's really the answer. Bill, and I'm data driven.
It doesn't matter. Big tech is always, yes, it does matter.
Here's what matters.
But we can't at the moment, it's happened.
I accept Biden's the duly elected president of the United States. I said it at the time and I said it now.
Everybody does bad things during campaigns, including using big tech. What matters is then who got the most votes. We have to start with somewhere that's real.
What Bill is trying to do here is trap Ramaswamy in a box. You have to say these exact words that I agree with, or else I'm going to dismiss every point you make and label you a crazy person. Ramaswamy is not denying that Joe Biden is our president. He's not denying that Joe Biden got more votes. What he's simply saying is even if the tallies are accurate 100%, that big tech had a large influence on this election, and there is no denying that. Every mainstream media site was supporting Joe Biden and continues to do so. They've also been bashing Trump nonstop with indictment number 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all CNN has been talking about. They're trying to deflect and distract you from the current administration's failures. Even if you're not a fan of Trump, there is no denying that the media's influence and support for the left has been substantial in deciding the election.
That's what's real. Who won those states that puts him in the White House? And you cannot just say to me, yes, Biden won the election.
Because yes. I said that at the time. I said
so
at the time,
Biden won the election.
Biden had the most votes in the election. Biden had the most votes.
Can't say those words. It's like you're a husband who can't say.
No, Biden had. But the reason is, Bill. I mean, there's good data on this. We were systematically suppressed. The Hunter Biden bribery story, which is relevant today.
That's what
on the eve of an election where most people who were independent said, many people who were independent, enough to change the outcome of the election, said they would have changed their vote had they had access to that information. It's the greatest form of election interference in human history.
No.
That's actually the fact.
That would be Russia. If you're listening, please find Hillary's emails and then release them on WikiLeaks. That was the biggest breach. I mean, you can't really believe it.
You're talking about James Comey and his statements before the 2016 election.
I'm talking about Trump. Trump said that. I don't need James Comey. Trump said, Russia, if you're listening. You don't remember that moment?
I mean...
You don't remember that?
I don't know.
When the left exaggerates everything Trump says, it's really hard to remember one particular thing that they had a problem with.
I don't particularly remember that moment, but I'm talking about large technology companies in this last election.
Okay.
I just think if we don't learn from that, Bill, we're destined to make the same mistakes again. But here's what I'll say.
I don't
That's
believe
an example of
that...
what you'll call lack of wisdom.
Okay,
and we can agree to disagree on that.
You're running as like, I'm not the bullshitter guy like the other guys. And then you just told me you don't remember when Trump said, Russia,
I actually don't, but
it was a giant moment that's been replayed a zillion times.
Back when I was in business and
you're, oh really, you were that tuned out from politics?
I mean, what Trump was saying on a given day in 2016.
Not a given day.
Really.
That was replayed a zillion times because he was impeached over this.
Does Bill even hear the words that are coming out of his own mouth? Joe Biden's son brought cocaine into the White House, and everyone was saying they don't know how it got there. The mainstream media was fact-checking posts that accused Hunter Biden of bringing the drugs and said there is no proof of this. Not only did they not report on it, but they were defending the president for having drugs in the White House, something that never happened before. Hunter Biden is a known drug addict. Why wouldn't you be able to piece those two things together? He said what Trump said was played 1,000,000 times and it got him impeached, while the Hunter Biden laptop story was suppressed. Why wasn't that played 1,000,000 times? Donald Trump said something. Hunter Biden did something. There's a big difference, and that's why Trump was acquitted.
We have spent literally 7 years now relitigating and rehashing that series of events that, whatever they are, is not going to change.
Well, yes,
and I think that's what's wrong with this election right now as well.
Well, that's the nature of justice. When people commit crimes, if they're not punished for it, then they tend to commit the crimes again. So the fact that we're still talking about it, yes, he's got
I think these indictments are deeply politicized. I think they're a bad idea for the future of the country.
Well, let's just talk about the one that matters, the one where he tried to overthrow the United States government. You don't think that...
You're talking about the third one from Jack Smith.
I'm talking about...
the Jack Smith indictment.
Absolutely.
So I believe that of course, I would have made very different judgments than Trump made that day. But Trump expressing his view on the outcome of the election, even knowingly telling a lie, is not unconstitutional.
Great.
It's not a legal violation.
So
Alvarez, a case which 2012,
but he didn't just,
famously said politicians can have a First Amendment right to lie. And Jack Smith's indictment acknowledges that, which is the interesting part about this.
Okay. But this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about things like putting up fake electors. That's not just words. They did that. A slate of fake electors. We're talking about a guy on tape saying, this is the one that came down the other day about Georgia, a guy on tape saying, I need you to find me 11,780 more votes. Now, that alone, if I just had that, wouldn't that be a case? I need you to find me, he's saying
and they didn't do it, right?
But that, I tried to rob a bank the other day and I didn't get the money.
What law, I mean, here's where I'm at. Not every bad judgment or every bad act is a crime.
Oh my God.
What law did that violate?
He's the president.
What law did that violate?
Probably the oath of office that he took when he would defend the United States.
That's not something we put, I mean, George Bush violated the oath of office.
What is more,
when he sent troops to Iraq? This is why we vote people out. That's how elections work.
I know, but
so I think that's the fundamental difference in how we do things in the United States, where you're taking deeply held judgments that you disagree with. Great, go to the ballot box, vote. That's how we do things in the United States of America.
The problem with this interview is Bill Maher is unwilling to recognize the faults in his own party. He dismisses Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. He said Barack Obama was a perfect president and did nothing wrong.
Obama was a disaster for comedians. He was perfect in every possible way. I mean, there was nothing you could... And
You're not basing that different, but I see where you're coming from.
He kept trying to trap Vivek in a box with gotcha questions. He would also dismiss Vivek's points as disinformation with no facts to back it up. He also made it personal and said that Vivek was too young and didn't have enough wisdom to bash Trump. He also falsely accused Vivek of trying to be Trump's vice president, and when Vivek denied it, Bill Maher said he would be stupid to turn it down. So Bill Maher is calling him dumb for not trying to be vice president, but he also called him unethical for lying to be vice president. Which is it, Bill Maher? If this were a Democratic candidate, Bill Maher would not behave this way. He was clearly trying to make Vivek look crazy and unqualified, despite our current president not being able to form a sentence and having record high inflation. Bill Maher has no problem with calling out the woke left and some of the social issues in our country, but when it comes to issues that affect elections, Bill Maher is completely biased. He wants blue in office and he will do anything to achieve it, and this interview is a perfect example of that. But that's all I have for this video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this interview between Vivek Ramaswamy and Bill Maher. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more content just like this, and I will see you in the next upload.